Hillary Clinton went on MSNBC and blamed the white man for so much damage to America. Well, us white men of a certain religion are responsible for so much damage of America, she said. Well, folks, I'm white. I'm not ashamed of it like she and other flaming liberals would like for me to be. I'm not a racist like she and others are. And I've got some things to say about her remarks and about her as a person. You may not like what I have to say today in this episode, but I'm known for, as the new saying is, I say the quiet things out loud. So stick around for this episode. I've got guts enough to say what needs to be said if you've got guts enough to listen.
Welcome to another episode of Larry's Rants, Raves, and Reviews! Now, it's the moment that you have all been waiting for. Here comes the man, the myth, the legend, my papa! Here's Larry!
Killary, as I like to call her, is a wicked and treacherous old hag. Bitter as bitter can be. I'll share some ideas about why she might have turned out that way, but first, let's just discuss what she had to say about us white men. Hillary Clinton blames white men of a certain religion for doing such damage to America. Now, her comments came just days after Charlie Kirk was murdered and assassinated. During a segment of MSNBC's Morning Joe, she went on. Now Clinton is age 77, so you have to pay attention to that. She said, America has yet to achieve the more perfect union spoken of by former President Abraham Lincoln. Now, you have to realize that Killary hates America. Liberals in general hate Trump because he loves America and cancels their narrative. If you wonder why they hate Trump so much, it's because of his love for America. Now, she went on in this interview to say, we haven't gotten to the more perfect union, and we fought a civil war over part of it. And people have been protesting for hundreds of years that things were not as they should be, given our ideals and how we should be moving forward. It seems only liberals want to keep race an issue. Have you ever noticed that? Only the liberals really want race to be an issue. Let me tell you something. Race, as far as I'm concerned, was almost dead until Barack Hussein Obama revived it so that he could help the liberal Democrat Communist Party and his personal cause. Now, she went on in this interview to say, so I think that's what makes us so special as a country, and the idea that you can turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion. What in the world does that mean? Straight men? So us white straight men that love women, that love our country? Yeah, we're of that certain persuasion. A certain religion, she goes on to add. A certain point of view. A certain ideology. In other words, those of us that have morals, unlike she and her husband, it's just doing much damage to what we should be aiming for. You see, liberals are always looking for ways to divorce God out of our country and what is knowing right from wrong. Now, earlier in the conversation, Clint, who was promoting the 20th anniversary of the Clinton Global Initiative, warned that equality and progressive ideology were in the crosshairs of those on the right. You see, that progressive ideology is exactly what's wrong with America. Not white men, it's your crazy liberal communist views that has screwed this country up and helped to screw our world up. Now, she went on to say the idea of we the people, that all men and women are created equal, that seems to be in the crosshairs of those on the right who want to turn the clock back on the progress that has been made, she said. Well, in other words, if we don't buy into the perversion of the left and turn our backs on our beliefs, we're the ones at fault. You see, perversion is not progress. That's what liberals want you to think. But perversion is not progress. Remember, old Larry said that here. Now, while the conversation did not specifically reference Charlie Kirk, who was killed on September 10th, and this interview happened September the 24th, Clinton repeated references to Lincoln, who was assassinated. While Clinton, to my knowledge, has still not made any public statement about Charlie Kirk, nearly a year ago, in the run-up to the 2024 presidential election, Clinton made similar inflammatory comments following the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump. That attempt was planned, and trust me, Killary was on the planning committee. You'll never make me believe that one lone weird little kid grabbed a rifle and hopped up on a roof and almost took out a presidential candidate. I'll never believe that, folks. The left, the Democrats, the Communist Party here in America, they're the ones that planned that, and they missed. And the reason that young man got killed on the roof is because he missed. Had he not missed, that boy would have been long gone, and you'd have never, ever known anything about him and caught him. It's just my opinion. In an October 2023 interview with CNN, Clinton suggested that supporters of then presidential candidate Trump, whom she described as MAGA extremists, are in a cult and should undergo formal deprogramming. Now, she's talking to us deplorables, us gun-toting, Bible-hugging, God-fearing, straight, non-perverted Americans, us white men. We're to blame. Oh, but she's certainly not. Well, I found this on here that I think you'll find interesting. Tony Perkins, president of Family Research Council, told Fox Digital News in an interview, America is rejecting the ideology of Clinton and what she is defending. She seems, he goes on to say, she seems to be angry that the majority of Americans rejected the trajectory that the left had America on. It's not just white men of a peculiar persuasion. And he also said, I'm not sure that what she means by that, with a question mark, straight men. But the reality is America has rejected this leftist ideology and has divorced itself from the truth. Liberals, progressive, communist wants to always rewrite history. Now Joy Reid claims that mediocre white men like Trump and Elvis can't invent anything. They steal culture from other races. But that's another show maybe, because she's just a hack, a has-been, and a racist herself, and I can't stand her. chances are she'll never be talked about except in a negative comment on this podcast. Now, Tony Perkins went on to say, by the way, he's the president of the Family Research Council, if I didn't mention that. He said Killary's out of touch. It says it's beyond tone deaf for Hillary to proclaim that the conservative white Christian men are what's wrong with America while the nation mourns the loss of Charlie Kirk. At least it confirms what we all suspected, that Hillary still believes millions of Americans belong in her basket of deplorables based on their sex, race, and sincere religious beliefs. Now, here's something worth noting. Penny Nance, CEO and president of Concerned Women for America, told Fox News in a statement that men of every race have allowed the left to marginalize and feminize them. America needs more strong men in this nation, not fewer. The over 500,000 women of Concerned Women of America are incredibly thankful for strong men, and we need to dispute the false notion of toxic masculinity. Nance added, what has been labeled by the left as masculine is the opposite of masculine. Real masculinity protects the weak and leads with courage and character. And we are thankful for men like the recent heroes who literally took bullets for women and children in recent shootings. We are grateful for the men who run towards danger, such as our first responders and the U.S. military. And in her closing remarks, she said, Nance went on to say that women are begging for men to be strong husbands, fathers, and providers that will lead a strong nation. Well, Penny, thank you for those remarks. I appreciate that. Dan Bongino, he says in an X quote, comment here, he said, I worked with Hillary Clinton. She was evil. Now remember, Dan was in Secret Service. I worked with Hillary Clinton. She was evil. The stories that Secret Service agents around her have and have kept bottled up inside are horrendous. Get this, working on her detail was generally considered a punishment assignment. That's how bad she really is. He said, you'll never find a more destructive public figure in your lifetime. And then he closes his post with this. She hates you, all of you. You see, she hates America, and she hates all of us Americans. Now, at the beginning of this episode, I said that Killary is a wicked and treacherous old hag, bitter as bitter can be. And you might say, Larry, that seems a little much. Really? Really? Because she blamed white men for the problems of America. And remember, I'm a white man, and I think she's racist. So allow me to take the gloves off during this episode and tell you what I really think about Killary, okay? It must truly be painful to be Killary Clinton. Her high hopes, her and high dreams, her ambitions far exceeded her abilities. Now she desperately needs validation from the left, but gets very little attention. In fact, I'm probably giving her more attention than she deserves by doing this episode. But I dislike her so much, that's why I just couldn't resist. She's a loser, she's a has-been, but really, she is a never was. I don't know if your brain works like mine. Probably not. But I put some thought into why Killary became such a bitter old hag. So in closing, I'd like to share a few of those thoughts. Could it be that she apparently could never satisfy Bill's sexual appetite? Maybe that's why she became so bitter and hates men. Could it be that she has always had a marriage of convenience? One that it was put together not out of love, but out with two people that has a raging appetite for power and wealth. Two people that was willing to say and stay together due to their drive and greed to obtain this power and money by any means available. And when I say any means, I mean that. The Clintons are evil, and they'll do anything to obtain and maintain power and wealth. Two people that could coexist, that grew to have a disdain for one another, but loved their powerful accomplishments through obtaining an elitist lifestyle on the back of we the people. They lived in donor homes here in Arkansas until they moved into the governor's mansion, and then from the governor's mansion to the White House. The Clintons never owned a home until Bill left office. And then it's rumored that they bought their mansion in New York, and they had to build a separate housing quarters for the Secret Service, and we the people pay an enormous amount to rent that for the Secret Service. That's how they pay for their New York mansion. It's been rumored, and I'm willing to spread that, it's been rumored that they actually have about a $10,000 a month mortgage on their New York mansion. And guess what we the people pay for the Secret Service house? Happens to be $10,000 a month. Well, let's continue our game. Could it be that Killary is so bitter because she recognizes the majority of America hates her? Could be. Or the fact that she stood in the shadows of Bill all while he was open with his shameful lifestyle, but she took it all waiting for her turn in the driver's seat of power, but that turn never came? Could it be that after living in Bill's shadow, the Liberal Party she once trusted screwed her over so they could run Barack Hussein Obama? She realized she was passed over and didn't even get her rightful turn as an elite, progressively thinking person thinks. The Democrats, the communists, they sold her out. She was thrown a bone and told to wait as Secretary of State, and then she would get her turn. And once again, she was standing in the shadow of another man. Maybe we're seeing why she hates men in general. She even allowed Barack Hussein Obama to take the health care bill that she authored and miserably failed to install socialist medicine in America while Bill was in office. Remember that? Republicans had control of the House back then and couldn't get it through. But it was put through under the name Obamacare because America allowed the Democrats to take power in the House and the Senate, along with Hussein being the president. And she was trying so hard to position herself that she allowed Hussein to take that bill that she authored and put it through under his name, and she was in hopes that the party would give her a chance at the big share. Then, after waiting again for her turn, she had a massive defeat by Donald Trump, who America loved, respected, and voted for by a landslide, and her suffering only intensified. It intensified more and more. Her anger grew. Her bitterness intensified for men and her party and her country. Her hatred for her country swelled to new heights as she could see her turn at power was slipping away and her dreams were shattered. Now, at age 77, she recognizes a spot on a liberal, do-nothing TV show called Morning Joe is all that she has left. So she takes a hateful stance and blames us white men for all of the country's ills. Well, Killary, this is one white man that refuses to buy your line of bull, and one white man who is proud to be a real man that loves God, his family, and his country. Oh, and on a side note, I've been faithful to my wife since the day I met her. Oh, and this is one American, red, white, and blue-blooded white man that still remembers your horrible, horrible actions in Benghazi and Russiagate. I remember lie after lie that you have made your entire career. Well, I guess, like Killary, I'm glad I got that off my chest. I have every right to speak about her as I did on this episode. I remember and recognize Killary, you as a failure. I'll see you next episode.